Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 679 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Ailon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our ninth book just came out. It's called From Letters to Leaders, The Legacy of Service. So go and pick up that book on Amazon today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, one of the fraternity chapters that I advise has an annual New York City career event where alumni from the university from all over New York City meet with the undergraduate members for a formal dinner in New York City with a speaker to talk about job trends. And then the students get to actually visit the top workplaces in New York City for additional training, networking, resume review, interviewing skills, and career advice. This is the future of fraternity and sorority life. And I can't wait as that starts to spread to more and more chapters around the country. So let's talk to our next guest about all of these life skills. For Christianne Meneses Jacobs, the role of author and educator go hand in hand. A veteran educator and career readiness expert with over 25 years of experience, a master's degree in education, curriculum, and instruction, and certifications as a reading specialist, she has dedicated her career to shaping the lives of children and adolescents. Her work is rooted in the belief that literacy and professional skills are the primary tools for lifelong success. Christianne has witnessed firsthand the widening skills gap facing young adults today. This book is actually the result of her classroom experiences and is designed to give the next generation the professional tools they are not learning in standard academic settings. And of course, the book is called Professional Life Skills for Young Adults. So, welcome to the show, Christianne.
Well, thank you so much.
It
Thank
is
you for
great to
having
have
me.
you on the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want to jump into this a little bit. I think it's really interesting, your entire college career there and some of the things that you joined. You were actually very active. I noticed in Kappa Alpha Theta sorority, which is absolutely fantastic for our listeners. I'm wondering, how did your sorority experience shape your professional skills or your career?
Yes, I was a member of Kappa Alpha Theta. I joined when I was a freshman. And sophomore year, I was the historian. So I was in charge of maintaining the records, the historical records of our chapter, and also maintaining the members, our sisters, aware of what was happening and what events and taking pictures and all that stuff. So I developed some very good skills, and I would say communication, because every week that we had a meeting, I had to communicate to the members specifically what we needed to do or what we were doing or what we did in the past. So that was very useful. And also, not only that, collaboration, because we collaborated a lot. We were just not just a sorority. In fact, we call ourselves a women's fraternity because we were the very first one sorority to appear in college campuses. And we never changed our name to sorority. We always call ourselves a women's fraternity.
Yep.
And so over the years, I collaborated with my sisters in different activities. We promoted events. We always also hosted events for the rest of the students on campus. So
Mhm.
collaboration and communication were very essential to help me in my career.
Yeah, that's a fantastic answer. And I agree with you completely. I know even for myself, I'm really an introvert, which, really frightens people when I say that I'm a professional speaker who's an introvert. But the reality is that's the truth. And I really believe that the fraternity gave me those communication skills, just like it did for you. I would be speaking to my brothers every week. And,
Yes.
you just have to learn this skill. This is an important skill for you to learn. Without the fraternity, I'm not sure that I would be a public speaker today. So I'm very grateful for it, just like you, which is
I
fantastic.
agree 100%.
Yeah. You've also spent over 25 years as an educator working with young people. So what was that moment that you realized that there is actually this major gap in career readiness?
Yes, I used to teach an electives class called Career and Life Links, which I created actually. at my school, my middle school, and the students I was teaching were very excited that they were going to start working. They wanted to go and find a job and start making money. And then we started talking about, well, do you know what a resume is? And they're like, no. Do you know how to even ask for a job, how to apply for a job? Do I have to? I'm like, can I just go and ask the manager for a job and I get a job? No, you actually have to interview. So I started incorporating all those different elements for them to learn. We also had like some business people and some managers from the local businesses around the school to come and mock interviews for the students. And it was very useful for them. So that's when I realized even though we are in middle school, they need to start learning these skills, not just wait until they're in high school or maybe not until they go to college, because some high schools don't even have this kind of programs. They don't offer career readiness classes. So don't wait until you're in college to learn the skills. So I incorporate those and it was pretty successful. The kids actually, some of them found jobs during the summer. So I was very happy about that. But that's when I realized something needs to be done. We
That's
cannot just
incredible.
throw these kids into the world and, you know, think that they're going to get a job. And it's not just important to get the job, but also it's important to keep the job. That's the key.
Yeah, it's incredible that you started teaching this in middle school. I mean, there are many high schools, that don't have this. So I'm very happy that you're doing that in middle school. And we should be growing our skills all throughout. We should be growing our skills in middle school, growing our skills in high school, growing our skills in college, and then even in the workforce, in our first job. So what does that actually look like in real life when someone starts their first job? How do you grow that skills gap?
Yes, it is. It's there's a disconnect there between, being a student and being a young professional. So in school, we give the kids an idea, a rubric, a prompt of how to achieve an A. But in the workforce, it's very ambiguous. We don't know what the path is. So they need to be asking questions, especially to their managers, to be listening very well and to reiterate that understanding. Like, for example, say something like, Mr. Smith, I understand that you want me to do X, Y, and Z. Is that correct? Is that my understanding? And if that is true, then you go and do your task. But if not, your manager, your supervisor is going to tell you, oh, okay, let's go back, let me explain again, or whatever it is. Also, clear communication. We need to move from the fact of like casual text messaging to a professional email. Make sure that you have a clear subject line and that you don't write everything you want to say on the subject line, because I do get emails from students where they're asking me a question and it's an entire paragraph on the subject line. So it's like a salutation, a professional salutation. Dear Mr. Smith, dear Mrs. Brown, and then explain briefly instead of saying, hey, Joe, that would not be professional at all. So making that distinction, that it is very different from going from being a student and talking to your friends to being a young adult at your first job, communicating in a professional way. And for that, it's important to switch also. The way you talk to your friends or your family member is not the same way you're going to talk to your coworkers or your supervisor or your boss. So you have to switch your language. That's something I taught my students. As soon as you walk into my classroom, you need to use different language when you are addressing me. And sometimes they forget, but I'm always there to correct them and help them, to be their best. And also, clear communication of your body language as well, because sometimes your verbal communication is not aligned with your body, your non-verbal communication. So make sure that those two align, because otherwise you're going to be sending the wrong information, the wrong image, the wrong everything. So it's very important to keep that in mind.
Yeah, you're so right. And I realized this a couple of weeks ago. We did some Zoom meetings with some college students, and I noticed that they weren't, at their room or in their office. They were kind of on the road, in their car or,
Oh my
in the
goodness.
cafeteria, and so you can see there's people everywhere walking around. And the students, you talk about nonverbal communication, they're not always paying attention. They're not always looking at the camera. They're off, over here, looking down, maybe on their phone. They're not paying attention to what is happening. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, if you're going to set a meeting with a professional, somebody
Mhm.
who's the CEO of a company, I need you to be present, have
Yeah.
a professional background. Don't meet in the middle of the student union or in your car where people are all over the place, and pay attention and look at the screen, not, look down, on your phone or here. You're talking, literally, I had somebody, a student was talking to her friend while we were in the meeting. And I'm like, what? What? It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, you would think that this is like common sense, right?
Right.
But apparently it's not.
I don't think it
Because, but
is.
if, the thing is, if somebody does not teach these kids how to behave, during the like a Zoom meeting like that,
Yeah.
how are they gonna know?
Yeah.
These kids are not born knowing. So, I see that a lot in the Facebook groups that I belong, like at the different universities, parent Facebook groups.
Mhm.
And parents, especially around this time, are complaining that the students are not ready for the workplace. Their students don't know how to write a resume. Their students are sending hundreds of emails and hundreds of resumes and hearing nothing back. And like, why aren't these colleges, universities teaching them career readiness skills? That
Yeah.
they need that, because if we're not there to teach them, how are
Yeah.
they gonna know? They
Yeah,
don't know.
you're right. We need career readiness classes. I mean,
Mhm.
it's so important. Even in some of the emails that I get from students too. I mean, you talk about texting to email with a professional. These are two different things. You can't be using abbreviations like LOL in a professional email with your boss. I mean, what are you doing? This isn't a text. We're not friends. This is a boss and this is an employee relationship. Okay. So
Yes.
you have to know the difference. But sometimes I'm telling you, these things that I would think is common sense is apparently it's not common sense. The other thing your book talks about is you talk about the 7 key areas of career readiness. So
Yes.
can you walk us through what those are? What are the 7 key areas of career readiness?
So I started with, when was doing my research, I researched for a year all these different and read all articles and books, and it took so long to put them in the 7 keys. When after reading all of this information, all of these different articles, I started seeing patterns. So I put all the information into the 7 keys, and I started with personal appearance because I think that is very essential. I remember my dad always told me, you only have one opportunity to make an excellent first impression, and it lasts only seconds. It's like, and you don't have a second chance. That's it. So you have to present yourself in a really good way, your best self. And because when you feel good and you are dressed well for an interview, you feel confident, you feel good about yourself. So that's important. So I'll give you an example. My oldest daughter said that a young lady came to her job because she was coming for an interview. They had a position available. My daughter said the girl looked like she just rolled out of bed. Her hair was a mess. She was wearing no jeans, not even jeans. She was wearing sweatpants and a sweatshirt. And it's like, and I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, yes, I'm serious. And of course, she didn't give a good impression. She didn't get hired at all. So that is definitely first, personal appearance is important. And not just that, I tell my daughters too, because one of the reasons also I wrote this book, not just for my students and to teach them these skills, is because my daughters were growing up and going to college. And soon they're going to be in the workplace as well. So I wanted to do both, teach my daughters and my students, and not just them, but all young adults around the world.
Mhm.
So that's very important. And so we were talking about appearance, and I always said, brush your teeth before you go to your interview. Make sure your clothes is not wrinkled. Make sure that it is iron and it looks nice. There are no stains. Make sure of all that because uh, even if you're going in the afternoon, brush your teeth, make sure you take a shower too. You want to present yourself very well. So that's important. The second key I realized is start your career. So that's about how you write a resume, we talk about, a lot about the ATS, the applicant tracking system, which is now an AI system that filters applicants, and a human eye doesn't even see them anymore. That's why a lot of the kids are not hearing back from all these different places that they apply to, because they're being filtered. And one of the things that is important to do is to try to cheat the AI, because AI does, the applicant tracking system does not like fancy fonts, doesn't like icons, doesn't like columns. It likes plain, boring text, and especially a PDF file. And for that, you need to do bullet points of what you, not just list what you have done on your resume, but also to make sure that you're including things that you have accomplished, the things that are very achievable, that this is what I achieved. Instead of saying, I answer phones, you say, I answer every day 30 people, or 30 people, I help 30 people with their questions and I find solutions to them. Be quantifiable, not just say, I answer phones, things like that. Social skills are very important, how you socialize with your coworkers, be friendly, be approachable, that is, instead of just being on your own lane, network within your company, get to know the people who are there. And behavioral skills, don't treat the workplace like it is like your fraternity house or a sorority house. It's a place of work, and don't take people's time. Don't be loud. Don't be on your phone all the time. That was another thing. My daughter said that there was a young lady at her place of work. The supervisor was looking for her everywhere. Where is she? Where is she go? We need her right now. They found her under her desk, scrolling through her phone on Instagram. Company time is company time. You get your 15 minutes break in the morning and the afternoon, your 30-minute break for lunch. That is your personal time. But when you are on the job performing, the work, the task that you need to accomplish, that's company time. And unfortunately, that young lady got fired for that. It's really, it's very heartbreaking. Another key, is professional etiquette, and that includes networking. This generation seems to have a hard time talking to people. And I don't blame them. The pandemic was very detrimental to their social development, to their mental health, and it's created, students, young adults who are afraid to talk to people in person, but you have to, because that's how you create like human connection, which is very important during when you are trying to find a job. So professional etiquette includes networking, talking to people, but also presenting yourself correctly. Like if you are going to a company event, make sure you are representing your organization. So you have to be on your best behavior and be present. Like if you're going to a seminar or at a conference, don't just go sit down and start looking at your phone under your table, Like talk to the person next to you, smile, ask them where they're from, what are they enjoying about the conference or the seminar, and just establish that connection. And the other one is digital citizenship. Please clean up your media, social media. I talk in my book about specific topics that should be avoided. Like, don't talk about or write about using drugs, using alcohol, staying up late, demeaning women, about guns and violence. That's also thing. Be quiet, because your employer, potential employers, are looking at social media. You don't think they might, but they are Googling your name, and they're going to want to see what comes up. Because if you're presenting yourself in a different way, and then you're presenting yourself differently on social media, there's a disconnect there, and they're not going to know exactly who you are as a person. So I would say start cleaning up your social media. It's very important, because whatever is there is going to stay there forever. So make sure that you establish that from the beginning. And the last one, the key 7, is money matters. because finances are very important. Especially, I remember when my oldest daughter got her first paycheck. She's like, where did my money go? Where is everything I earn? Well, we have to pay taxes. Uncle Sam gets a piece of the pie, the state taxes, Social Security, Medicare, all of that. They take a piece of the pie of our paycheck. But, to understand, what your paycheck is, establish a budget. But not only that, start saving for retirement from your very first paycheck. Start contributing, maximizing your 401k, because a lot of organizations, they provide some money. They add money to your 401k. That's free money for you. So, and time is in your best interest right now. If people are in their 20s, early 20s, mid 20s, they are like, time is very important right now, is in your favor, because by the time you're 67 years old and you have contributed to your 401k, and which is is a retirement vehicle, as well as a Roth IRA, you're going to be looking at millions of dollars down the road because of compounding interest and investment that you have made. So those are the important, I took the kids from the very beginning of how to present themselves to what they need to be doing with the money they earn.
Man, that is a great summary. 7 key areas for career readiness. Go and rewind, listen to that again, because I tell you what, it's really phenomenal. She really breaks down exactly what you need in order to be ready for your career. So, I mean, I was going to drill down on it, but you did a great job, I think, of explaining each one. So I don't have to do a lot there. My kids, they're now looking for jobs. My son graduated from college with a 4.0 GPA in two and a half years in data science.
Oh, wow.
Very smart kid. Now he's in his master's program for cybersecurity, and he's looking for work, full-time work. And even my daughter, she's now a sophomore at Rice University in
Mhm.
Houston, and she's looking for summer internship, right?
Yes.
But they're having a lot of trouble. I think they're struggling to find that job or find that internship. So if you had to give advice to, let's say, a graduating senior who's struggling to find a job right now, what advice would you give?
That is the complaint I've seen lately too, from those Facebook groups that I belong. A lot of the parents are saying there are not a lot of internships or summer jobs. And they have said that also so a lot of those companies have said that AI has been taking those jobs away from these young adults. Like, which are those jobs are the important cornerstones of what they're going to be doing in the future. So one of the things I would say to do is to network in the sense of finding people, reach out to alumni at your university. If you're in a fraternity or sorority, reach out to those people as well who have graduated. Or if you belong to a club, like for example, my daughter, one of them belongs to the pre-vet club. Reach out to the graduates and ask them, to introduce you to somebody, or even like the alumni, give them a call, send them an email, and ask them for an informational interview. May I please have 15 minutes of your time? Maybe you can tell me about or I can shadow you, or you can tell me about your job, how you got from point A to point B, and maybe they can introduce you to somebody, or maybe they have an opening. But the important thing is to reach out to those people, because they know more than you do, but also to reach out to the Career Center at school. A lot of students, I'm amazed, they don't utilize the Career Center as well. They give a lot of information. They conduct programs, workshops, and different career readiness workshops that they offer. But you have to be highly motivated, I think, a highly motivated student to actually go there and use the resources. So they can help too. But I would say start, like, these times right now are very tough. I definitely agree with that. And so the best way to go is to do those informational interviews with alumni from your school, or alumni from your fraternities or sororities.
Yeah, I think that's excellent advice. And listen, I have students reach out to me all the time on LinkedIn. I will always give you 15 minutes of my time. It might not be today because I'm
Yeah.
booked, but maybe in a week or whatever it is, we'll schedule 15 minutes to hop on a Zoom and we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. I'm happy to do it, especially somebody who's in a fraternity or sorority, because I
Mhm.
believe in you, and the skills that you got in the fraternity or sorority. So we want to help you. And I think
Yeah.
if you reach out, we will say yes, especially if you're a college student or you're about to graduate. We will always say yes because Christiane and myself, we know that you have nothing to sell us. You're a
Yeah.
college student. You have nothing to sell us. So we want to help you, and we don't feel like, oh, this person is going to try to sell me, I don't know, a trip to Costa Rica. No, you have nothing to sell me. You just want information, and so that informational interview, I think, could be really helpful.
Yes, and we
Also,
got help too.
yeah,
We were helped by other alumni too.
sure, of course
And
we
it's
will.
our turn now to pay it forward for
Yeah,
them.
you're
But
absolutely right. We want to pay it forward. We want you to be successful. So I think all of that
yes.
is great. Earlier you mentioned something called the ATS, the applicant
Mhm.
tracking system. And I think it's something that a lot of students don't really understand what that is or how it works. They just know that they send out 100 interviews and nobody calls them back. That's all they know. They don't know about the ATS.
Mhm.
So, other than just making it very plain, just bullets and things like that, is there anything else they can do to optimize their resume so that way an actual human will read it?
Yes, actually, yes. So the important thing is to very carefully read that job description, and extract from that job description three important words that repeat over and over in that description. They can be action words or phrases. So the important thing is to include those action words and phrases into your resume and also into your cover letter as well. Because that way, then you're aligning the language of the job description with your resume and also the cover letter. Another important thing is that I'm not sure if they are aware. I don't think they know that they need to be able to tailor the resume and their cover letter to each job. They cannot send the same cover letter and resume to all of the jobs they want to apply for. They need to put in on the time and actually go through that job description and look and see what is the most important things that this job description is telling me, that I need to be doing. And sometimes they think that if they are missing some of the stuff that the job description wants from them, it's okay. If the young adult meets at least 80% of the description, apply for the job. You don't need to meet 100%, at least 80%. But at least, if you extract those words from the job description and utilize them to your advantage, you might get a better chance of getting seen by a human, because that way the applicant tracking system, you're aligning that and then will pass you on. So, but make sure that have your bullet points, action, quantifiable, measurable achievements, not just a list of what you did. That's important.
Yeah, great advice. A lot of the cover letters that I get, I read it and I'm saying to myself, wait a minute, they wrote this cover letter for some other job. It's not at all for the job that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And so I think you're right. I think a lot of college students don't realize you have to customize the cover
Mhm.
letter to the job description that you're applying for. So that means every cover letter you write is going to be different. And that's
Yes.
just the way it is. You have to spend time. I know you don't want to spend time, but you have to. It's the only way that you're going to get through this ATS that Christiane is talking about. That's the only way. So yeah,
Yeah, it's
100%.
it takes a lot of work to get a
Sure.
job.
Yeah, it
You really
absolutely
have
does,
to put in
especially in
the
a job
time.
market like we have right now today,
Yes.
for sure. Can you talk to us about LinkedIn? What does a great LinkedIn profile look like for a college student?
Oh, yes. I was working with one of my daughters with about that lately. And what is important is make sure that you have a very good professional photo, and that you have a clean background, plain background. Nothing that you're taking a picture, of yourself, a selfie. No, that's not gonna cut it. It has to be really good, that you are seeing. It's not dark, it's bright. And also the banner, that's important because that is the area behind your photo that you can utilize. It's called, like they call it, like real estate. It's important information that you can use to personalize it for yourself, to make yourself into a brand. So that is important. Also, the about section is not just, for example, you would say marketing student at the University of Arizona. Instead of saying that, you could say something about marketing's expert or marketing strategist, SEO, what do you say? SEO expert also, with these achievable measures. Make sure that you put in there what is it that you have achieved. That is important, and just utilize it in that way. But that is the most important thing: the photo, the banner, and the about section. And if there are things that you can also personalize on LinkedIn, which is one of them, is how to get recommendations. So ask your professors for some recommendations. Make sure that you connect with them through LinkedIn, and they can write your recommendation about maybe you were work on a project with them, or maybe it was a research that you did with them, or maybe you work with them during the summer. And those are important things that you can put on your LinkedIn that they can do it. You send them the invitation and they will write you that recommendation there. So those things are very important.
Yeah, Christiane is absolutely right. I have almost 100 recommendations on LinkedIn. So every time I work with a client, I ask them for a recommendation still today. And I'm age 50. Okay. So if I can do it and I'm age 50, you can do it as a college student and get recommendations from your professors, from people who you had an internship with, other people that you know that are professionals that can recommend your work. Those are all things you need to start building on LinkedIn. And she's absolutely right. You really need to quantify your accomplishments. Don't just tell me that you are an expert at social media. Instead, say that I have 28,000 followers on Instagram, and on TikTok, I have 51,000 followers.
Yeah.
And so, this is giving me some data to support that you are a social media expert, right?
Exactly.
So give me all of those numbers and those details. Those things are really important, and it makes your resume stand out. Because, just because you're on social media, so what? A lot of people are on social media, but it doesn't mean that they have command of it and they know how to build a brand or how to get regular engagement. These are things that employers are looking for that you might be able to help them as a college student. So
Yeah, the facts are important because that gives you credibility too.
yeah, it gives you a lot of credibility. And if they want to get that for their own company, then they're going to hire somebody who's Gen Z, who understands all of the trends on Instagram and TikTok and know how to build all of that engagement for their brand. So really good stuff. I love it. Now, I also love good food. That is my weakness, is good food. I love to eat. And I have a feeling that you also know good food. So if I end up in Scottsdale, Arizona, where should I be going for a great bite to eat?
Oh, you have to come to Barrio Queen. That you are going to have the best tacos, the
All
best
right.
enchiladas, the best burritos. Oh my God, they're so yummy. Especially, the fish tacos and the shrimp tacos. Oh, they're so yummy. And not
Yeah.
only that, their avocados, and the guacamole. It is
Mhm.
just so delicious.
Oh, yeah.
They make it right there in front of you. They bring it to your
Yes.
cart and they make it. And the margaritas are so good. And the aguas frescas too.
Oh,
So yeah, you
yeah,
have to
that's
come
really
and try
good.
real Mexican food.
Yeah, you know good Mexican food, so I think that is an excellent suggestion. Yeah, don't give me the guacamole that's been sitting around for a week in the refrigerator. I need you to make it fresh at the table. That is good guacamole. Please, please.
Yeah. Yes. And it's really nice, they're talking to you as they're making it and they tell you the ingredients they're putting in there. It's quite an experience.
That's great. All right, I'm going to go check that out next time I'm in Scottsdale. That's really good. All right, so if our listeners, if they want to connect with you in order to buy your book, the book is called Professional Life Skills for Young Adults, or maybe they want to bring you to their campus so that way you can speak on their college campus. Where should they go to connect with you?
Well, yes, they can purchase the book on Amazon, that's for sure, and also barnesandnoble.com and bookshop.com. But also to connect with me, I would love to come to your college campus, to your fraternity or your sorority and talk to your students. And nicagal.com, NICAGAL.com, because I'm a girl from Nicaragua.
I love it. All right, very easy. So it's nicagal.com, nicagal.com. Go to the website, connect with Christiane, make sure that you get her book called Professional Life Skills for Young Adults. I think every college student listening should go out and pick up that book today because it's very, very valuable. And hey, listen, if you're a member of Kappa Alpha Theta, now you have an alumnus that you can reach out to. There's more
Yes,
networking.
definitely.
All right.
Yes.
Now we are really
Reach
making
out to me.
people connect. All right. Well, Christiane, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing all this great information with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. And to all of our college students listening, if you learned something today from Christiane, which I know you did, please share this episode with your entire chapter. Drop a link in a group chat with your chapter, share it on social media. You never know who needs to hear Christiane's words today. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Bye for now.